This is from chapter 1, called Not the Same Old Song. And in this chapter I talk about what I call the tomorrow principle, which is the principle of trying to see, look ahead, trying to see one's activities through, because when you're really attracted to someone sexually and want to have sex with a person, it's hard to think in terms of what will this do to me spiritually, how will it make me feel, how will it affect my relationships with other people in the future. I use the analogy of temptation that I feel coming home at night wanting to buy cheese doodles and having, like, you know, the devil on my shoulder saying get the cheese doodles, and the angel saying no, because if you buy them tonight, you'll want to buy them tomorrow night, the night after, and you won't be able to fit into your jeans again. So after describing this, I say, to lose weight without feeling deprived takes more than just listening to the warnings of the angel on my shoulder. It takes a positive vision. I have to imagine how I'll look and feel far into the future, not just tomorrow, but tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. I have to widen my perspective and see the cumulative effect of temptation. Every time I give in, it wears down my resistance, but every time I resist, I grow stronger. The tomorrow principle requires that vision to be able to see how chastity will help me become the strong, sensitive, confident woman I so long to be. I hate acting out of desperation, feeling as if I have to give of myself physically because it's the only way to reach a man emotionally. And I hate feeling so lonely that I have to take caresses and kisses from a man who essentially views me as a piece of meat, a rare and attractive piece of meat, deserving of the highest respect, but meat nonetheless. I long with all my heart to be able to look beyond my immediate desires, conducting myself with the grace and wisdom that will ultimately bring me fulfillment, not just for a night, but for a lifetime. I first discovered the value of the tomorrow principle late one night in the spring of 2002, as I was preparing to leave a party in a Brooklyn apartment. The host, Steve, a quirky musician with a bashful puppy dog face like Friends star David Schwimmer or Graduate-era Dustin Hoffman, was an acquaintance I'd known for years, though never very well. We'd long had a mild flirtation going, but nothing had come of it because we didn't really have much in common other than physical attraction. So I was caught off guard when he asked me if I'd like to stay the night. My first thought was an image of the long, scary, late-night subway ride home, contrasted with the appeal of sharing Steve's bed. I thought about how he would kiss me and how we'd joke and giggle as we experienced the novelty of being naked together. In my mind's eye, I could see his shoulders silhouetted against the gray morning light filtering in through the curtains during the 1 hour of the day when his bustling neighborhood fell quiet. It was things like that, the easy camaraderie, the breaking down of boundaries, the fleeting romantic moments, that I really looked forward to in casual sex encounters. The sex itself, I knew, could be hit or miss. As my mind ran through the possibilities, I remembered that my spiritual situation had changed since the last time I'd received such an offer. I was a baby Christian now, still wet behind the ears, and I knew I wanted my life to reflect my faith. But what made me tell Steve no wasn't the force of conviction. It was another vision that flashed through my brain, sharper than the first, as though it had actually happened. In that vision, I saw myself and Steve the next morning at a diner, a bona fide, old-fashioned, greasy spoon in his neighborhood. I was wearing the same jeans and purple velvet blouse I'd worn to the party. Actually, this blouse. Oh, wow. And my hair was still a little wet from showering, and it was poking out in all the wrong directions. It doesn't hold up well when I don't use conditioner. It's true. We were having breakfast and trying to talk about something light, as if we just happened to run into each other at 10 a.m. on a Sunday. In front of me was the same morning meal I always order at a New York diner: poached eggs on dry rye toast, no potatoes, and coffee with skim milk. The image was pathetic. Just the idea of one more uncomfortable morning after breakfast, my loveless partner oozing with respect, that is what qualifies as respect in the casual dating world, all still respect you, it was more than I could bear. But the vision also had a more insidious quality, which I can describe only as grotesque. Here I was, so choosy that I insisted on 4 different specifications on my diner breakfast. Yet, I couldn't hold out for the one man with whom I could share every breakfast for the rest of my life. The Shirelles' oldies song, Will You Love Me Tomorrow, suggests that a night of sex is redeemed if the couple declares after the fact that they love each other. The concept is also a popular theme in romance novels, TV shows, and movies. Think Pretty Woman. People buy into such a fantasy because they want to believe that objectifying someone else is excusable. Yet in my vision of Breakfast with Steve, even if he suddenly professed his undying love as I bit into my egg on toast, it wouldn't change the decision I'd made the night before, to sleep with him not because I loved him, but just because I could. And I then realized that if I wound up loving him back, it wouldn't change the fact that 12 hours earlier I'd intended to use him and be used. If we ever got married, that would be our story. We were acquainted without being good friends, hooked up one night after having a few drinks, and fell in love. Somehow I don't think that's a recipe for a lasting marriage. If having sex with me were enough to make my husband fall in love, he might go on to have sex with another woman and fall in love with her too. Likewise, if I were that easily swayed by a roll in the hay, I'd be liable to run off with the proverbial pizza deliveryman. But that's not going to happen. That's silly. I'm not like that, and I knew I'd be no more likely to fall in love with Steve after sex than I was at that moment. I would, however, feel more attached to him, even if it wasn't love. Sex does that to me, whether I want it to or not. It's part of how I'm wired as a woman. That sense of attachment would make the separation after breakfast that much harder. Once that image entered my mind, the choice was clear. I thanked Steve for a lovely party and left. Somewhere during the journey from the midnight Brooklyn streets to my New Jersey apartment, I think I cried. Turning down intimacy, even the wrong kind, can hit hard when you're coming home to an empty place. But I don't regret it, and I've lived by the tomorrow principle ever since. If you have to ask someone if he'll still love you tomorrow, then he doesn't love you tonight.